When I went to Scotland and I did 4 nights on the Cape Wrath Trail with Chris, I took the Pocket Rocket Deluxe at 82 grams and I took the Fire Maple at 164 grams. So basically my combined cooker and gas stove combination was 246 grams. I took 1 gas canister. This is 220 grams, 368 grams. That is 614. So for my trip to Scotland, for 4 nights, I had 614. No lighter, because that has a built-in lighter. I had a spare emergency lighter and 1 gas. It was 4 nights. There was a little bit of gas left over. I drink a lot of tea. This setup would probably have lasted Chris probably 10 days or more. It lasted me 4 days. There was a little bit of gas left, maybe 1 extra day of gas. If I'd have done the same thing with a lightweight MEFS setup, so this one here is an Avenue 570 pot with a MEFS burner. I say MEFS, but a bioethanol. Basically, my MEFS burner is a lid with some flammable material, non-flammable material inside, and then I've got a little plastic top. So the stove is 9 grams. The cone is 24 grams. A little bit of foil for the floor. It was 2 grams. Obviously, I'll need a lighter. So the lighter is 20 grams. The lighter is probably one of the heaviest things, you know, in the setup. The whole setup, and this pot doesn't come with a lid. You can buy the lid separately, which stupidly I did, and it's like £20 for a lid that's a bit big for it, really. So that whole setup, that's 118 grams. This setup here with the pot and the burner was 246 grams. Straight away, we're already saving, so 20... We're already saving about 120 grams. Now, my next trip with Chris, we're going to be doing 7 nights. So that isn't going to last 7 nights. It did 4 nights, but it won't do 7, that is for sure. So I'm going to need pot and burner. I'm going to need that, which will probably do 7 nights. Sorry, which will probably do 4 or 5 nights. But I'll also need a small one as well, because that won't be enough otherwise. Small gas is 197. So in total, that is now 811 grams. And that would be easily enough, definitely enough for 7 nights, probably a little bit left over. I would say emergency for, you know, for an 8th night if necessary. So there is a little bit of redundancy in that for my copious tea drinking. I've not counted lighters in that. I've not counted spoons, cups, because obviously that's a separate thing. I estimate that I need around about 150 ml of fuel per night, whether it's MEFS or bioethanol. One thing I will just mention, these 500 ml platypus thingamybobs, they hold 450 ml, certainly 450 ml of MEFS or bioethanol. They do not hold 500 ml. I've measured it. When I weigh that, that is 364 grams. The plastic container, I weighed it earlier, is 21 grams. So 21 grams from 360 is 342. 340, just over 340. So if you want to know how heavy 450 ml of bioethanol methylated spirits is, it's about 340 grams. Bio is lighter than water. Now, bearing in mind that I'm going to need approximately 150 ml per night, and we've got 7 nights. So that's obviously 3 nights. So 150, 150 and 150 is 450. So that's 3 nights. One more is another 3 nights. So that's 6 nights. And then one more is obviously a 7th night with 300 ml spare. But obviously I will have backup redundancy in there. So I probably have more than I'm going to need. But I do sometimes use more than 150, you know, in a night, you know, morning, night, breakfast, tea. It kind of depends whether I'm in camp, out, whatever. This pot here is 26 grams and it is a 250 ml, and that is 233 grams. Or 300, oh, now it's, in fact this one's saying a bit more. This one's showing 375. Maybe I've got slightly different. That's 368. That's 364. All right, well, obviously this one is a couple of grams heavier for some bizarre reason. Anyway, so call it, it's saying 374. For round figures, 370. So 370 or 230, so for another 140 grams, I've effectively got 2 spare days of food, 2 spare days of fuel. If I take just that, then that really is not really very much extra. You know, that's like a few millilitres per day. So if I have any spillages or anything like that, then there's very little in it. So I could, for 7 nights, just about get away with 964. But for safety, I would take 3 of those. So basically, it's going from 964 to 1106. It's not even 150 grams, is it? It's like less than 150 grams. Which is like basically a day of fuel, and I've got 2 spare days of fuel there for like 150 grams extra. So to me, it's a no-brainer just to take those 3, take the extra 150 grams, overtaking 2 of those and that, and then I've got more spare for more tea, and you can never have enough tea. So if you haven't died of boredom yet, if we put the fuel and the stove together, 1, 2, 2, 4. It's quite a lot. Admittedly, that is quite a lot, but we'll keep going. So that was 8, 11. 2 gas canisters is about 600 ml of gas, and the meths is about 1,350 ml. 1 from 4 is 3, 1 from 2 is 1, 8 from 12, 8, 9. Bear in mind you need twice as much methylated spirits as gas. So if my mathematics is correct... And so I pretty much have exactly twice as much meths as gas. Correct. This setup here initially is 400 grams, which is quite a lot, heavier than this setup here. What you have to remember is that as we go, this canister is 200 grams empty. Can you work out where we're going? That's 100 grams empty. So that's 300 grams, even I can add that up. And then that is 246 grams, and clearly that's not going to get any lighter. So 246, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that setup is never going to be less than 550 grams for round figures. Obviously we take the plastic thing off, but basically, you know, for want of a few grams, that is never going to be less than 500 grams. This will, as fuel goes down, will be 118 grams for that, and that spare fuel 485. Bearing in mind, in the last day I will be having to use some of this as well. The last day or so I will be needing to use some of that. There's not really going to be very much in it, is there, to be fair, because obviously that will go down, because that's a 20 gram, so 20, 40, 60, 70, 80. So empty with that there, it's going to be less than 200 grams, maybe about 180 grams. So empty, this is 180 grams, and empty, that's 450 grams. But bearing in mind, there will be some left over in there, and there will be some left over in here. So obviously this is going to go down, but this is going to have to go down, you know, quite a bit, isn't it? So I suppose what we're saying is that there's probably not a huge amount in it. So that's 370 grams, and that's 370. So the weight of that is 370, and that is 370. But obviously you need twice as much bioethanol as you do gas. But that is never going to be less than 200 grams, you know, the canister. So I'm sure the canister is about 200 grams. So I'm going to try this way and just see how much I have left, you know, after 7 nights, assuming that it is, you know, that we do the walk-in 7 nights. Anyway, that's a little bit of a waffly, meandering, you know, walk there, talk, talk. And that is just under 500 for that. So in the last day or so, when I start to get through this, that's when we'll really start to catch up and beat that. So I need to drink, I think the answer to this is I need to drink a lot of tea. I'm very good at drinking a lot of tea. So, you know, I probably do have more than I really need, because as I say, I probably could take one of these out, put one of these in. So I could probably save 140 grams by taking that. But I have very, very little leeway in spillages or extra tea. You know, I would be watching exactly what I'm doing. So for 140, yeah, so 140 grams, I've got an extra 200 mil of fuel. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. It's all very, it's complicated of how it all the weights and everything. So you've probably all fallen asleep by now. I've got confused and fallen asleep myself. This is about 350 grams lighter than that, you know, at least. So we won't really start really feeling the benefits until we're down to the last one. Until we're down to the last one, then we will start saving. Maybe even when we're into some of the second one, because once we get into some of the second one, obviously you're still going to have fuel in both of the gas canisters a bit. So, you know, you'll probably start not really noticing it, but, you know, the difference will probably start when you start getting into that second one. Anyway, I just wanted to do a little video on last time I took that. This time I'm going to take this and see how we get on. As always, Thank you very much for watching. If you sat through this.